in the Law and Justice Committee in the National Assembly. It was something which we talked about a lot, and that is where I can bring in a perspective of what I actually feel. It's been, Mr. Barrister Farooq Naseem has given a very clear picture of the laws which have been passed in Pakistan. In the Law and Justice Committee, people came up with severe punishments, that instead of 10 years, some punishment should be taken to 14 years. Instead of 14 years, for example, somebody should be hanged for this crime or punished with death for the other crime. I believe that the legislation in Pakistan is almost enough. And we have the statute carry discouragement almost to every level which Pakistan's society needs. The ethos of Pakistan regarding women's rights and women's security comes from its religion, Islam. And the Prophet ﷺ, in his last sermon, said, "Apni auraton ka khayal rakhna, take care of the woman." 1500 years ago, in that society, at that level, women were given rights to property, rights to inheritance, which at that time no other society had. In fact, in the developed world, in Europe, women's property rights were not there until the late 19th century, in most cases in the early 20th century. So coming from that background, from that ethos, society should have progressed. Pakistan should have progressed further. Barrister Farooq Naseem has been very careful in not giving the ranking of Women, Peace and Security Index. It's very bad, and I must share it, because what I'm concerned with, ladies and gentlemen, is not the fact that how does the developed world see us, or that we should do this because the European Union says that, or the Sustainable Development Goals impress upon us what to do. We should be doing this for our own society. It is us, it is our own priority. It is not how anybody else looks at me. It is what I look from inside at myself. So I would therefore divulge the ranking. And it is shocking. It is 164 out of 168 in 2019. Pakistan ranks at 164. And that should be very shameful. That should be shocking for us. And it should be spread. Now, why is that happening? Despite ample laws, and I'm very impressed by what was being presented, in fact, honor killings and all this is the tip of, you can't say tip of the iceberg, it's the tip of the volcano. It's just the tip. It just shows you the severity of a situation. Just at the end, for example, for one honor killing, there may be 100,000 cases of harassment. So we need to discourage that, of course. That's the penal crime. That's a very big crime. But at the same time, we must be talking about violence against women in the society itself. And some discussion did take place on what needs to be done. And the more the tools are available for communication, the violence is increasing. It's just like when dynamite was discovered, it for peaceful purposes. At the same time, it had very damaging situations. When nuclear fission was discovered, for example, it was discovered and it was used in both ways, for destroying peace and for energy. The similar thing is happening as far as tools are concerned. The internet magnifies the ability and the possibility of communication. Like my friend Mr. Shah Mahmood Qureshi mentioned the fact of child pornography. So therefore, we must be thinking in terms of society. The law comes later. The stick of the law comes later. After the stick of the law, as the parliament has done tremendous work in Pakistan, the constitution is there, the laws are there, and thank you, Farooq Naseem Saab, for empowerment of women as far as property is concerned. Some new laws are there today where a complaint of any kind of property deprivation by a woman can come to the woman's ombudsman. But let me give you an idea of where the difficulties lie. The difficulty lies in the fact that when I became the president of Pakistan, I was burdened by this position. I found out the Wafaqi Muhtasib gets maybe 200,000 complaints every year, or 120,000. And they are able to solve these complaints and redress those complaints almost within 6 months, all of them. And when it comes to me, I don't take more than a day unless I have to do a personal hearing of that case, and I've decided hundreds of cases. On the other hand, the complaints of harassment, you will be surprised there are less than 100 in Pakistan which come to the Wafaqi Muhtasib, woman Muhtasib. That means people don't know. That means people are afraid. That means, can you imagine in Pakistan where more honor killings have taken place, the complaints of harassment are less than 100 at the forum where they have to be addressed? When you bring a day which is important, International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, my wife, for example, when she picked up breast cancer as an issue last year, she said it's not a matter of a day. So I kept on telling her the day is there to highlight an issue. And the rest 364 days in a year, once the day has highlighted it, we will work upon it. But she considered that's not enough. At least you should go out for a month, create a momentum of 30 days at least, which lasts the next 300 days. So I believe similarly, the day focuses, but it should start the engines rolling in every forum which needs to address, in the television and film media. There is an issue, somewhere the distraction of society is taking place. There is a very good few hours in the evening where the government and the opposition, Shah Sahab, are throwing the kitchen sink at each other every day. And it leads to good ratings of television companies, etc. And I instituted an award through PEMRA for television media companies which are discussing social issues. And I asked PEMRA to quantify the minutes or the hours, including talk shows, the minutes and the hours where a media company focused on social issues. And we have given, after a quarter of a year or 6 months of the year, we did give some awards to 3 companies which we found, television media houses which we found are doing more work with socially responsible ideas. So we need to start discussing this, implementing this, a very important issue. But how? Comes back to the situation how. Like I said, the laws are there. Keep on working on the laws, but I think they are very good right now. Beyond that, the woman is not bold enough to complain. And we don't want to encourage that all marriage disputes are brought into the violence situation. We don't want to encourage that. But we do want to encourage or discourage violence when it is happening and encourage the woman to get some help. Now, when you come to help, you do not have to go to the police station directly. When you look at, for example, when my wife was working on breast cancer awareness, we found social taboos to it. Women were shy to come forward. They did not inform even their family of that issue. Leave aside going for diagnosis. And when they were diagnosed, they were still shy to get treatment because they thought the expenses of treatment would be so much that it will destroy the family structure. So these judgments are being made by women themselves, and we need to embolden them. What happens in violence, domestic violence, for example? The woman is degraded, she feels unsure. Look at the psychological judgments on these. The woman is unsure, she feels degraded, she feels that if she goes out in the world, she'll be nothing without her husband. And the husband promises every time, and this is a psychological health issue. The promises every time after he feels regret, he promises that he won't do it again, and the others keep on encouraging. Even in Western societies, you can see that the other keeps on encouraging the woman to look at it with more substance, and if the marriage is not working, to walk away. But these women take 7 or 8 years to be able to walk away. They are battered, and it's called the battered woman syndrome, psychologically destroyed. We in Pakistan somehow should have an area where the woman can reach out. For example, there was a the Aman Foundation had set up a health line called call center. It found that it was not the men who approached the health call center. It was mostly the women who approached the call center, because she was not able to go out, because she may have been neglected with the husband very busy with earning bread. So this is a woman who called the health centers. Somehow or the other, with only about less than 100 complaints coming in, I think the failure is to communicate with women, to increase their presence in public spaces. When I feel very depressed by the fact that when women come out for political purposes, there's a segment of society which again degrades them. For in a dharna or in a protest, there are people who start degrading them. But I'm also glad at the same time that newspapers write against such attempts, such bad comments which are being made. But then it is made a matter of politics. This has nothing to do with politics. We must separate this from politics, what the government is doing. The major burden comes back on civil society, on the reaction of people themselves, on the reaction of us and our families as far as gender-based violence is concerned, to make the women come out. The empowerment of women with property, for example, that is one thing. The figures are very poor as far as certain provinces are concerned, where women do not inherit property. They are told that we have given you some property as far as at the time of your marriage, but now no more. There are intermarriages to make sure that the property remains within families and the women do not have right. I have requested the law minister, and he's considering that still, the fact that because of this family pressure, as soon as the father dies or the male dies and the woman inherits property, she is forced to gift it. It's very common. It's almost, in some places, it's almost 90% women are forced to gift them. And I have asked him, and he's still probing that issue. He's probing that issue that for 1 or 2 years, we should legally stop the gifting of properties unless she goes to a court of law and makes a submission that she needs to do it or she is being compensated. She can sell the property, but she should not be able to gift. And I have talked to the Shariat judges in the Supreme Court. I have communicated to them, and they say it is possible, but the ball is in the court of the law minister. Unless she holds on to inherited property, she has no idea of about the value of that property. So for 1 year or 2 years, that's how you empower them. Without financial empowerment, as you said, without financial empowerment, the role of women against violence or in all other issues is not enough. To make them, to allow public spaces to welcome them without violence, without taunting on the streets, without people discouraging women to come into public spaces, that is very important. And I think what has happened over the last 6-7 years particularly, or 10 years, that the women have started participating in political movements.
ख़वातीन पर तशद्दुद के खात्मे के आलमी दिन के हवाले से सदर डॉक्टर आरिफ अलवी खिताब कर रहे थे। उनका यह कहना था कि पाकिस्तान में इस हवाले से कवानीन मौजूद हैं, मगर अमल दरामद की ज़रूरत है। मुल्क में ख़वातीन का तहफ़्फ़ुज़ इंतहाई ज़रूरी है। मुल्क से गैरत के नाम पर कत्ल और हिरासा करने के वाक़यात का खात्मा ज़रूरी है। बच्चों के खिलाफ जराइम का खात्मा